So let's install or let's integrate APM with OBM. Now, what is the current situation? We have OBM and Dataflow Probe integrated. Both are working. We have APM. It works. Everything's fine with it. And we need to integrate between the two. The integration is done on several levels. One of them is UCMDB. Another one is actually the certificate exchange and other stuff of this kind. So first thing first, we need to go inside APM. And since we're going to do the UCMDB integration, we need to specify or tell the APM that it is not going to be the global ID generator. Why is it important? Well, because if there are multiple global ID generators, there's going to be a contradiction, and we want to specify that only one UCMDB or RTSM is actually in charge. So in order to do that, we need to go to the UCMDB https:// I believe localhost 21212, I think. Okay, it might be just HTTP. All right, and we are going to the JMX console of UCMDB itself. Let it load for a second. And here we go with the sysadmin user. Like this. Yes, please store the password. And we need to do the JMX search. We are going to, come on, where is the global? Let's do the search like this, global. Do we have candidate? No, we don't. So we are going to search for it as well here. But in general, it should be pretty easy to find as it is. Metrics, operations index, there we go. Okay, global setting. Okay, set initials, so reset, UCMDB, save reset as. Okay, there we go. Set as global ID generation, set as non-global ID generator. So we go here, set as non-global ID, customer ID is 1, I believe. We click on invoke. Okay, global ID generator was already set to this, so we're going to use customer 0, set as non-global ID generator. And it says forbidden. Okay, so it means that it's already configured in the proper way. It wouldn't try to go and configure and dictate what the global ID is. And the global IDs would come from the OBM UCMDB. Now we go to the other UCMD JMX of the APM itself, and we need to set the LWSSO setting to match the other products and specifically the OBM. LWSSO, let's see if we find anything. No, we cannot find anything. It means that we can go and try to use the asterisk once more, LW-SSO. Wildcard search doesn't do anything for us. LWSSO would not find. Okay, we are going to use the Topaz service LWSSO configuration. So built-in search doesn't serve us too well. And we need to go and find ourselves an init string. And init string, there we go, right here. We need to modify it according to reality. And the reality of the init string is this. No, we are going back, going to init string, and we say set. Okay, so the init strings are now synchronized between those two products. It allows SSO, LWSSO between APM and OBM. And also we verified and we found that our UCMDB does not, well, the RTSM and APM doesn't contribute to the global ID situation. So it means that we have only one global ID generator set, and we can confirm it by going to OBM and actually make it or force it to be the global ID generator just in case. In order to do that, we are going to its RDP, and we're going to follow exactly the same procedure with its internal JMX. The reason why you need to go to the machine itself is because the JMX is by default on the classic installation, not on the containerized. The JMX by default is not exposed to the outside world. So http://localhost 2121.2. Like this, we're going to say that we need the JMX console. Advanced, yes, please, add exception, confirm security exception, and we are going inside. Okay, we click on remember, UCMDB JMX, and you know what? We can use search. So let's do JMX search. It's going to be global ID, I think, in one word. Actually suggest, okay, global. So we set global setting value. So it doesn't look like the one that we need. So we're going to using the JMX, and we're going to find the global over here. So that's number one, and it's not the right place to do it. So we're going all the way up and go to operations index. And here we're going to highlight all, and we are going to scroll down. Set global ID generator scope, set as global ID generator. Okay, so set as global ID generator, and we're going to say customer ID 1 invoke. Okay, and it was successfully set to. So now OBM is the global ID generator too, although it was supposed to be already set up like this, but you know, you can never know. So that's portion number one. We don't need to be here any longer. Now we go to the APM server, and we need to import some certificates. So how do we do that? We copy our certificates folder to the desktop of, not to the desktop, but to the C drive of APM server, because we need to do some certificate exchange between those two servers, right? So we go to disk C, we paste the files, here's our certificates, and now we have two places to work with. One of them is, where's the GRE? GRE, another one is GRE64. Those two key stores need to be updated with the certificate files from OBM. So as usual, we would go find this directory, open the command prompt, and go inside. Just makes our lives a little bit easier. And here we do key tool, and basically import ca certs alias OBM minus file, and then we specify C certificates. Then we go from OBM slash server CRT minus key store, and the key store usually sits under exactly the same location as the GRE, but here we have two of those, so we're going to repeat this command twice. So it's going to be key store C HPBSM slash JRE slash lib slash security, I believe, CA certs. Okay, and we made a typo. Well, not we, you and I, but I did. Typo. Import CA certs. Yes, and it's not import CSS, it's trust CA certs. My mistake, just too many imports today. We go for it, we say the password, we accept once it's done hanging over here. We say yes, fantastic. And now we repeat this, exactly the same command, but this time it's going to be JRE64. Hopefully it would work, and I don't need to change the key tool that I'm using because I have both in JRE and in JRE64, the key tool is there, like file duplication. So here's the password. Let's see, trust it, yes. Okay, so now I need to repeat exactly the same steps on OBM, but first I need to put the certificates in it. So I'm just going to place all of my certificates in OBM's root directory. Right, so this is my OBM, this is the root directory, and I'm going just to copy it somewhere here. Okay, the files are copied, and we repeat the process for OBM. It's pretty much similar, but although I think it has only one GRE. So it's going to be cd, opt, hp, bsm, list files, and we have only one GRE. Yes, so it's going to be cd gre bin. Okay, GRE bin wrong slash. This is what happens when you switch between Windows and Linux too much. Okay, and same thing here is key, tool, and then import, and you know the rest. So basically the command would look like this: key tool, import, trust CA certs, alias, file, and CA certs. And we repeat the process. It should ask us for a password. And we say yes. So this is the initial certificate request, which allows those two to communicate. Now here it becomes a little bit tricky. Why? Because now those two products needs to be restarted. Not very convenient, and we're gonna skip this part because you already know how to restart APM and OBM services, but it takes about 10 minutes, so we're just gonna skip to that part. Slowly but surely the products come up. Okay, so OBM is started, APM is getting there, so let's go inside OBM and just log in, accept the certificate, of course, always fine, and log in inside. And from here, we're going to navigate to connected servers. Now, we have a couple of choices over here. One of them, in terms of integration, is to create the UCMDB or RTSM to RTSM integration between the OBM and APM from the wizard, or we can set it up manually and altogether just continue from the synchronization step inside. So we're going to go on generic solution over here. So in APM, you will notice in 1 second, there are 3 steps, right? So step 1, sync topology, step 2, OBM to APM setup, and step 3, synchronization, right? So we could have the choice of starting from step 2 and then stop doing the step 3, but and doing the topology manually. Well, we're not going to do that because this is a direct integration and there are no limitations to what we need to do at the moment. There are no current setups that we need to address, so we're just going to do it as it is. We call it APM. Fully qualified domain name is going to be apmexclusive.com, I believe. Username admin. Password is what we like it to be. They are matching, yes. The port is 443. Use security email. Yeah. Enable sending event updates to the APM server. Doesn't do anything for us. We do a sync topology. We choose the dataflow probe. And the domain name is going to be default domain. Why? Well, default domain is actually part of the dataflow probe setup. It's not the actual domain name of the environment. Now we don't press the test, run test, because this is reserved for previous types of connections or integrations between OBM and APM, where APM actually had an OBM installed on an OMI, and it had an agent. Now it doesn't, so run test would fail on port 383, which doesn't do anything on APM. So we just click on create, and we need to see how it's going. So status is running, and basically it's a data flow probe that tries to connect to APM. And failed integration but not properly. UCMDB 9X adapter. So probably the APM 9X adapter is not a good thing for us, and we need to go and fix it from the data flow probe. So we go to RTSM administration, we go to data flow probe, no, to Integration Studio inside OBM, and we try to figure out the error from here. And the reason it fails is actually our data flow probe in OBM also needs to have the certificate of APM server. So let's see if we actually have the correct certificates that we need to use from APM. So it is going to be server, yes, okay. So let's see what was the last command that we ran, and luckily for us, the last command was similar to what we are going to do right now. So there we go. Alias OBM. Okay, we made a mistake with the alias over here. So let's go back and correct it. So now our data flow probe needs the APM certificate in order to connect to APM, which is logical. So we're gonna do just that. And we need to go and start and stop our data flow probe. So we are stopping the data flow probe. And then we're gonna start it. So let's skip to that part. And now after clicking on edit and saving once more, it's running. Let's see if it works for us, this time with proper certificates installed in all locations. So it says that it's still running. To me, it says that it's at least working on something. It's when it when it does the first step, it actually goes to APM RTSM and creates the integration point between them two, and also synchronizes the CI of these rules. So probably we are waiting for this to execute, and we can observe the status of it here on the probe gateway, which doesn't say anything for us right now, but it is working on that topic. And after several seconds, it says succeeded. Cool. So it means that the initial synchronization is done. Now, the initial synchronization kind of not doing what we needed to, so we need to make a little bit of a modification later in the APM. So let's see if SSO works now. So we go to APM, and it should not ask us for credentials. Well, it does ask us for credentials, no idea why. Probably because we just waited for too long. But still, here's the SSO, not working for us, which is completely fine. And we will need to go and open the RTSM administration later. So let's we'll give it an opportunity to run for a while. And in the meanwhile, what we need to do, we'll change the step number 1. We'll uncheck the box over here. When we do OBM to APM setup, what it does, it creates a connection between the two. And basically, it specifies to APM that, this is how you connect and this is where you connect. It goes to the JMX and populates a link, which might not work at the moment, but we will forgive it for that. It's still running. It's completely fine. And after about a minute, it succeeded. Fantastic. So we can go and validate that it happened, but when it says succeeded, basically it says succeeded. No need to verify it too closely. but we'll address it later. For now, we are going to edit it, and we are going to select synchronization, and we're not going to tick the box for synchronized downtime because we're not going to do downtimes at the moment. So there is no reason to put it like this. And it says succeeded right away because, well, from this point on, it doesn't do anything. So this is basically APM to OBM synchronization from OBM's perspective. Now we need to make APM to be able to trigger events to OBM, right? And to do this, we will need to go to to OBM and configure the REST API. So how do we do that? We go here, we navigate to this folder, opt HBSM OPR bin, and we need to run a OPR REST WS policy configuration SH, which basically means that we need to do this and, oh, okay, configuration. Let's see if it finds. No, it doesn't find because I deleted the O. Doesn't really matter. Configuration. Okay, so probably we'll need to make it do it for us. OPR. Oh, HP. Yes, so we didn't go to the correct folder, and this is why I goof around. Okay, much better. So it's going to be OPR REST WS policy configuration SH, and we're going to say enable out. Now, if you're using the Kubernetes version of OBM, you need to put some extra work over here because the port 30005 is not open by default, so you need to create a new service. But we're not going to touch it here because we're using OBM Classic. But basically, you need to know that there is another step to follow. So it's going to be enable auth dash credentials, right? Then you're going to say username, and it's going to be admin, and then password. It's gonna be, oh, actually, it's gonna be asking us for a password inside right here. And I think when I type it, you wouldn't see it, so that's good. Less editing on weekends. Okay, and let me retype it really, really carefully. Right. Okay. Now, why do I need to do it carefully? Because, well, it asks me for a password only once, and if I made a mistake over here, and it would be really hard for me to find out that I made this mistake later on. So let's, in the meanwhile, open APM. No, we need to open APM over here, and we're going to admin. I wish I did not need to click away from here, but yeah, I just went too much forward with my intentions over here. We go to infrastructure settings, and we need to specify. It's going to be foundations or my integration, and we need to specify those credentials now. So we go to OMI integration. Okay, and it's going to be OMI integration admin, naturally. But the password that we are going to use here, it's not the password of OMI admin, not at all. In fact, the proper way to run the previous command would be REST API admin, so we would have the differentiation between the two. But this is the password that we specified in the REST API tool. So I'm going to type this password. And you know what? I'm going to type it again because there is no validation. And if I made a mistake, it would take me just too much time to backtrace the problem where it started. And if you remember, we imported the OMI certificate or OBM certificate into two key stores, one for GRE and another for GRE64. So this specific point is for GRE64, and the previous steps were using the GRE, the regular one. So yeah. So now we need to deploy a policy. we go to our OBM in Chrome, because I have a feeling that we're going to use Java, or to be more correct, Flash, not Java, sorry. Java is for Internet Explorers, and Flash is for Chromes for the moment, but we are getting to get this solved. Okay, and here we are going to monitoring policy templates. We need to deploy a REST API policy, which would go and listen to APM. So we go here, we click on events. There we go. Yes, events from REST API service. And we need to do an OPR event. This would be the policy that helps us to do it. It helps us to bring the events from APM. So we go to OBM and we deploy the policy on ourselves. There is nothing to do. We click on finish, and it is creating the assignments. Okay, fantastic. Now we need to go to APM. Actually, you know what? Verify. Maybe it didn't work for us correctly. Maybe it did. So we go to our JMX, and in JMX we need to server view, I think. Yeah, we need to find the OMI integration service settings. So let's find that here in the find window. And what? There we go. And now list of check OMI integration has been enabled. So we click on one, customer one, invoke, and it should provide us with a URL. True. Okay, this is not what I needed. Sets OMI URL, and we need to get OMI URL. So for customer one, we get the OMI URL, and it says OBM exclusively on ABSMC REST events OPR event. Oh, fantastic. That's really good. And yeah, it means that the integration, the step number 2, if you remember, this is where it sets it. In step number 2, this is how this URL comes to the APM JMX integration. Now, there is another thing to do is the Kpi Assignments. So we go under Service Health here in OBM, and we click on the Kpi Assignments, and we uncheck the default Kpi Assignments for BPM data. I'm not really sure that this is entirely necessary, but there is a contradiction between how those two work with each other. So we're gonna do it because the documentation says so. And we are not really against that. So it's going to be infrastructure element. No, it's going to be a business element. Business element, business application. And here on the business application KPI assignments, we're just going to click on pause. That's it. It's paused. So there is nothing to do over here any longer. Now, it means that the integration is done, and now when something happens in APM, it should send an event to OBM pretty much automatically for CI status changes and stuff like that. Not for transactions, because there we need to create a dedicated alert, but that's completely fine, and we're going to test it in a whole other place. But there is another enhancement that we need to do, and the enhancement is pretty simple. Now, our OBM, by default, it synchronizes some of the CIs, but not all of the CIs. And specifically, the transaction CIs are not getting into OBM or by default, at least from my experience. Maybe someone would contradict me and say, well, you know, Alexei, you are not right. And maybe you should do a little bit more of I read help file kind of an activity. But that's from my experience. So the way to deal with this, I'm going to the APM, UCMDB, and I'm going to, not to the model, yeah, I'm going to Modeling Studio, and I'm going to create a very, very simple thing. So I go to Resources and to Views, right? And I think I need to look for EUM. No. Okay, so it's not going to be under cluster. Maybe it is under queries after all. So let's give it a try. EUM. Okay, phrase not found. So I'm going to search for it manually. And yeah, it's application management. So application management is the basic view which supposed to be showing, when it works properly, this kind of thing. It sets a hierarchy between application management, business transaction flow, business transaction, CI connection, business application, stuff like that. Now, why is it important? Because as you see, it includes the BTF and business transaction. And from my experience, or maybe from mistakes that I made and some along the way, I don't get those two CIs into OBM. And when I get alerts, I get alerts for business application only. Okay, which is kind of weird for me, but yeah. Okay, so let's open it once more because I cannot grab. I cannot, okay, there we go. So this is what I wanted to see. So in application management, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy all of those, right? Just grab all of those CIs, Control C. I'm going to create new query, and I'm going to paste it here. Now, how cool is that? Okay. And here in the properties, we're going to say it's an integration. Yes, looks very, very legitimate. And I'm going also to calculate it. Probably it should be 0 for everything. Yes, because, well, it is 0. There are no applications at the moment. So 0 it is. So it works much better when you have an application that is being monitored. At least you'll know that you have some kind of CIs. But yeah, we got numbers here. So it's I see that it's not complete 0. It's not a broken query. So now I get to save it, and I'm going to say APM to OBM. Oh, I need to save it as. Yeah, need to wait for this to load, and then yeah, APM to OBM, TX, and BTF. Okay, just a little bit of enhancement to the existing query. So that thing is done. And now we are going to OBM, and we are going to Integration Studio, and we just need to add this new integration query into our synchronization over here. So let's give it a second to load. Okay. And I clicked on the APM to my APM integration over here, and I'm going to create a new job. Okay, and it's a population, basically data pool. So we're going to call it APM APMs TX and BTF CIs. Why? Because I like it. Okay, and I'm going to load all of the integration points in APM. As you see, it's already here. And schedule enabler, we're gonna say in intervals of 15 minutes. Doesn't really matter. Let's say 30 minutes, because when you monitor with APM, this is a long-term monitoring. So half an hour of missing data in terms of CIs and alerts on a new application is no big, because of course when you create a new script and everything, you need to verify those, right? So half an hour doesn't look too much. Maybe in production environment, 24 hours is going to be good enough, because you don't want to overload your data flow probe with unnecessary jobs. But this is a POC environment, and we want things to be pretty rapid. So we just saved it, and it kind of completes the picture in terms of integrations. Hope you liked it, and maybe it will be useful for your POC work.